Hi, I'm James Schillinglaw. I'm here in Prague. I'm here with Michela Claudino, who's the Director North America for Czech Tourism, or we're now calling it Czechia, which is the new tourism name for it. And we just got done with an amazing tour, at least part of Czech Republic. The last interview you saw was about Brno. We've done a lot of interviews about other parts of Czech Republic, but this is going to be about Moravia, this wonderful region that's near Brno, near actually Austria and Vienna. But you're going to have to find out about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, Michela, first of all, again, thank you. It's been a great tour. And one of the highlights of this, in addition to your home city, Brno, and also obviously Prague and other parts that we saw, was Moravia, which just kind of blew my mind because I never had been there. It's this incredibly cultural place, great wine, great castles, great experiences. And we started, we went to a castle, or chateau, I should say, in Valdis called the Lednice Chateau. Is that, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but
yes, almost.
Almost. I'm close.
Lednica.
Okay, and this is kind of a beautiful home. It's a later home, and really is known mostly for its gardens, and it's a UNESCO heritage. But talk a little bit about this wonderful place and why we went.
Well, when I do presentations, I usually call it the Versailles of Moravia, because really, I mean, it's a beautiful chateau, but why it is on the UNESCO list, it's because of its gardens, right. Because it's a unique concept. You don't find it anywhere in the Czech Republic, and it's a large, I don't know the exact acreage now.
It's but pretty large. I couldn't walk the whole thing.
You could easily spend a day, walking around. You can use a boat to go through the different parts of the park per se, of the gardens. You can also have a horse carriage to take you through it, and you feel like a real princess or prince. So it's basically it's one of the largest landscaped areas in Central Europe. And it's sort of, between Lednice and Baltice, two smaller towns, and the architecture of that place is just amazing.
The architecture is amazing, and we actually got a nice tour of the interiors, and it really was a great guide who showed us everything about that. And then we got a chance to walk around the grounds, but not enough, unfortunately. I didn't quite get to some of these monuments on the grounds. Like there's actually, I think there's a minaret, and then a lot of others as I looked later. So you might want to tell your clients to spend a little more time there in the gardens as well. So that was an incredibly way to start the day, but we weren't done. It wasn't even the end of the morning, I don't think. And the first thing we have, of course, to do, what do you do in Moravia? You go to a winery. And so we went to a very modern winery, Obelisk, right? Mm-hmm. And talk a little bit about that winery and why you think that was a pretty good one to go to.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, Moravia, especially southern Moravia, because we're talking about the regions, as you said before, closer to Vienna. Right. So southern Moravia is known for the wine production. The wine production is not so well known outside of the Czech Republic or Czechia, because we are not producing.
You drink all the wine.
We drink all the wine. All the wine stays in the country. So they're exporting some, but not so much. So. So the wine region, and I think there's been like a renaissance now of young winemakers who are experimenting with the wine.
We met one.
We met also. They also build different kind of. It's not the only typical wine cellar that you're used to from like that you imagine when you go. They build this amazing. It looks like it's a beautiful. I actually like that place. It's like a very Scandinavian sort of looking modern.
Overlooking the vineyards and looking at the towns. It was really very scenic. And we got a nice sort of tutorial on how they make wine there. And we actually had a wonderful lunch there.
Yes, yeah. So you can stay there. I think they have 3 or 4 rooms, so you can spend the night. They will cater the food for you, and you can just taste the wines or go on a bike ride. Biking is very popular in the area, so you can.
It's mostly flat for most places. Yeah,
it is.
So anyway, there we went there, and of course we couldn't be done with wine quite yet, because then we went to another place that was really amazing. It's your National Wine Center, and talk a little bit about that, because it really is. I think someone called it the wine salon of the Czech Republic, where you can taste. It's a very affordable price. You can spend a couple hours there tasting all the best wines in Czech Republic.
And it is what it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So all the best wines are actually available in this salon, in this place, and you can do wine tasting. You can shop, there, of course. And it's like the most prestigious place actually to have your wine featured and be sold.
And it's a beautiful building too. It's amazing, and you go down into the cellars, and you taste all the wine you want for 2 hours. And so you get a theme here. We're going a lot of wine here. So we were having a great time, and but then we took a little break from our wine visit to visit a town called Mikulov, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And which has one of the most amazing castles I've seen. Talk a little bit about Mikulov and why that should be a place that someone wants to stay.
Yeah, so Mikulov is a pretty historical town. Has some Jewish heritage, as you mentioned, beautiful castle, really nice little square. In the castle, you can visit the largest wooden barrel. I think
it's the second largest wooden wine barrel in Europe. I think, which just makes it probably the second in the world. But this is it's really amazing. You go down again into the cellars, more traditional cellars than our, at Obelisk that we saw. Right. But it is really an experience to go to that town and just to walk around. And you can look in the distance, and there is Austria, right?
Right. So as you climb up to the castle, the view you have is a view of Austria, so you see how close you are to the border. It's only about 40 minutes or maybe even less from there, so it's definitely a must stop. So between all the wine tasting, you can also do some proper sightseeing. It
is good sightseeing, and of course, then we'd been without wine for 2 hours, which was a hardship for both of us, I think, and for our whole group. So we had to go and fix that, and so we went back to Valdez. And tell us a little bit about it. We went to this marvelous other winery where we talk about nuclear bomb shelters. We were talking about the other interview. This one, you could survive any kind of blast. It's way down deep into and then down there, they're having parties. And we had a little bit of a party too. So tell us about that particular winery and why that's so popular.
So I don't think it's a winery, actually. I think it's a place where they have different wines.
You're right. You have different.
So it's like an underground. It's a Valtice underground, basically, right, which has been transferred to a certain point into like a smaller wine cellars per se. So they store the wine there. Then they have room for people to come and enjoy. They bring some local music. They bring some good food, and of course you keep on tasting the wine.
Taste the wine, and do a little dancing too, if I recall. We did a little dancing there. I probably fell a little bit, but that's another story. It was a really fun night, and that was kind of closed our night there in a kind of party atmosphere, and it was a lot of fun, and I think people would really have a great time there.
Yeah, I would hope so. Really, I mean, the place. I mean, you sort of lose the track of time when you're down there.
Yeah, you are deep in the ground.
Not only because of the wine, and it's a challenge to actually climb back up and find the exit. So you better, I
actually had to go to the men's room, and I was trying to find it, and I actually walked into the wrong party, but it didn't really matter. Whatever party you had, it was
the worst can happen is that you walk onto a different party. So I mean, it's just like
so you can also 3 bands down there, and you can actually dress up in folkloric costume if you really want to do that. And we did a little dancing, I learned a little bit of Czech folkloric dancing.
You are a great dancer, I have to say. You learn, you're natural.
I fell against the wall, and that wasn't so good. But not your fault. That's okay. It wasn't your fault, but it was a lot of fun, and we all survived that, and it was really, we had a great time. Anyway, so that was the end of that night. We ended up going back to the city, back to Brno, and then the next day we started the day with a bit of a drive to what they call the Moravian Karst. Mm-hmm. And talk about what is the Moravian Karst.
So Moravian Karst, I think the word karst says it all. So it's caves, basically. Right. It's natural caves, and it's it's the largest cave system in the Czech Republic and one of the largest in Europe. We wanted to show that you have history, you have great food, you have winemaking, but you also can do some pretty cool sort of outdoor things, and it's really fun to do with kids as well, or with people who are into more hiking and active stuff. So so we took the bus there, and then we had a little tram taking us up, but you can also walk all the way up to the entrance. and then you enter the caves, and it took us about an hour, right, to go
Just to go through, walking through the caves, all the differences, but then you end up a place where you get on a boat, and you actually take a cruise through the caves. That was pretty amazing.
Cruise is a little, I would say, what do you call it, the hyperbola or whatever, but it's
still a cruise.
It was a small boat. No life vests or anything.
No life vests.
Everybody had to, and because it's a narrow passage, there are narrow passages. So
you kept saying, watch your head, watch your right, watch your left, and so we were having a good time, and then we finally emerged from the caves. It was a long experience. It took for a while, right?
Yeah, it did. I mean, I think altogether, as I said, it's a little bit more than an hour.
Yeah,
and and the fun is that you go on the river, and then they stop and you go see another cave, and then they switch the boats, right? We had another guide, and then he took us around as well. So it was fun. No phones allowed on the boat.
No phones allowed. We made a sneak a few there, but they're actually more scared that you're going to hit your head while you're filming. Now then we finished that, and of course I hadn't had wine or beer and one of our buddies on the tour, he was very nice enough to get us all beers. So I had my closing beer, and then we get to go up on a gondola, a cable car, up to above everything to look down into this big cistern cave, right?
Correct, yeah.
The abyss, right?
The abyss, which has a famous... the abyss is called Matsocha, right? And we talked about the legend, right, that connects to it about... I'm now not going to get it right, because it's about the mother who didn't like her stepson and wanted to push him down.
I heard two versions of this already.
Okay.
And this is one is he got rid of her stepson, and then she died herself. I don't know. It's an old legend that no one's really sure exactly what it is. So we have to go get to the bottom of this to find this one. It is a long way.
Bottom of the abyss, though.
No. Okay, and that is a long way down. I tell you, have to say. So there's a lot of legends and traditions here that you got to get to know. Now. We had that wonderful experience, and then, of course, we hadn't eaten in a little while. So time for lunch, and we went to this beautiful kind of almost like a farmhouse restaurant out in a wonderful field. They had sheep, llamas, all kinds of stuff, and we had a lovely rustic meal of trout and ribs and all kinds of things. And what was that place? I think it was called Samsara Farm, right?
Samsara Farm, yeah. So Czech Republic, we're really trying to promote agritourism as well, and there are a lot of people who have these smaller farms and try to do all the local produce from there, so sustainable, and just let travelers enjoy it as well. So it was. And
we did. It was great, and it was really lovely. I felt I grew up in Switzerland a little bit, so I felt like I was on the Swiss Alps. It's very much similar, and really just a really pleasant afternoon there, because after our hard work in the caves, we had to have something else. And then, of course, we went back to Brno, and we had actually that night, I think we had our closing events and things like that. So, Michaela, I want to thank you very much for exposing me to these beautiful areas of Czech Republic. Moravia is fantastic. Brno is fantastic. I mean, I love Prague. I knew that. But there's so many other areas to go to here in Czech Republic, and as we say, Czechia now. But the really to get to know these places and to get your clients to know these places, there's a lot more options now. I mean, we all post river cruise. A lot of your clients are going to Prague, and hey, go to Prague. Absolutely, it's great. But there's some other areas in Czech Republic that you really got to consider, because these are really authentic, wonderful food, great wine, great beer, great castles, great history. There's really, you can't beat it. So again, thank you so much. It's been a great trip, and now it's over. But I'm raring to come back one of these days, whenever you invite me again.
Oh, whenever you want. Yeah, great to have you on the trip, and always fun. And I'm impressed how hardworking you are. I mean, you were doing interviews every single day, so thank you for the exposure. And
we're doing this interview after a big dinner here at this hotel that we're again. So Michaela was kind enough to do this, because I really wanted to get her perspective as a native of Brno and as a native in the Moravian area. It was just and she was with us the entire way, really guiding us around, and it was just great. Again, thank you so much, and I look forward to my next visit to Czechia, Czech Republic.
Thank you, James. Thank you, and you're welcome anytime. You know that.
I'm James Schillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.